fact real and generates real effects. And you can measure it, and he was given the Nobel Prize, Lamb was, for doing that kind of measurement and showing it in the physics literature. So we know it's real. Experimentally it's detected. The Casimir shift, for example, shows clearly that it's there, and it does generate energetic effects in your actual materials. It turns out that in the modern view, the modern quantum mechanical view, if you apply that knowledge that's been gained there, what you find is that the vacuum is fiercely active. It's a fierce energy flux and going in all directions at all times. The energy density of that, as estimated by various physicists, is extremely high. For example, in 1 cubic centimeter, if you could take the raw energy in that cubic centimeter and condense it into mass, divided by c squared, you would have more observable mass result from that than our largest telescope can see in the observable universe and all the stars and planets today. And so the energy that's there is extremely dense and extremely fierce. This drives everything that we call physical reality, from the quantum level right on up to the observed level and the observed world that we live in. Everything is energetically driven by the vacuum.
Background. It is widely thought today in physics that the Michelson-Morley experiment eliminated the ether. As Dirac once pointed out, it did no such thing. What it actually eliminated was a material ether. Any Lorentz invariant non-material ether is perfectly consistent with the Michelson-Morley experiment. And in fact, the basic Soviet theory today of psychotronic weapons or Tesla weapons is founded upon that particular principle. They use little pieces of vacuum as a Lorentz invariant ether concept, and from that all of the rest of their physics is derived, particularly those which deal with the weapons and the Tesla weapons. Also, they have advanced the work of Ives, a Western physicist who in the 30s and 40s developed a more fundamental theory of physics. Ives derived all of Einstein's postulates, Newton's laws of motion, relativistic form, and the square law of gravitation from a Lorentz invariant non-material ether theory, a more fundamental theory. His work has been ignored in the West, but it forms the basis of the Soviet threat work today. For example, when Bob Toth, a reporter from the Los Angeles Times, was handed a document by Petchukov on the streets of Moscow, the document purporting to have the secret or the theory of Soviet parapsychology, both the dissident scientist and Bob Toth were seized immediately by the KGB and interrogated. When the KGB found out that neither of them knew what they had, they simply stonewalled it and turned them loose. That is, after the intervention of the U.S. president. In that paper, the theory was speaking of little pieces of vacuum as being the basic approach to the theory. Part of our background also must address the work of another brilliant Western researcher and scientist, Dr. T. Henry Moray of Salt Lake City, Utah. In the 1920s and 1930s, Dr. Moray had successfully tapped the almost infinite energy of vacuum, the zero-point energy as we call it today. By 1939, Dr. Moray was obtaining 50 kilowatts of power from a 55-pound device straight out of pure nothing, pure vacuum, tapping the zero-point energy. The device used 29 tubes, 29 special stage tubes that he had painstakingly managed to build out of thousands attempted over a period of years. In 1939, a Soviet agent in that laboratory working with the device under Dr. Moray suddenly destroyed the device and beat it to pieces, heart-rendingly destroying the work of a lifetime. He also, however, had obtained drawings of the device, and we can be assured these drawings had been transmitted back to the Soviet Union. And so in 1939, there is a very good point where we know the Soviet Union had obtained the fact that you can build such an amplifier, you can get the energy of vacuum amplified, and we know that they had obtained the basic secret of it in 1939 from Dr. Moray in Salt Lake City, Utah.